we have to have a conversation about Donald Trump's State of the Union address, because I notice a lot of people are using talking points from Donald Trump's address. And it's particularly the comments about black folks' unemployment, the unemployment rate of black folks. And I noticed even people who were calling themselves liberal or progressive or whatever label they wanted to choose are basically going off Fox News talking points. And I don't know if they really want to have a conversation about black unemployment, but we need to have that conversation and how it shapes around Trump. Not only Trump, but the country as a whole. And this, I want to make this clear, this is not just about Donald Trump. This is about America. It's not just about one presidency. A lot of these problems I'm about to address have to do with things that have been going on since Clinton, at least, to present day. But what we cannot do is say, oh, well, since it was this way under Obama, what do you expect Trump to do? We only have one president at a time in this country. So I think it's only fair that we, just as I went in on Obama for the same things that I'm about to address now, I want to table them as well under the Trump presidency. That's not called hate. That's called information. And some of the things that we're about to address need to be known countrywide, not just to black folks, but it's important that we know them, but so that everyone will know what's going on, because the biggest problem we have in this country is people don't know what the hell is going on, and they think they know what's going on because they watch a certain commentator or a certain news channel, and they get a half of a story, or they get a sound bite, and now they have talking points for the rest of their lives, running around talking, and the data does not back it up. So Donald Trump gave his State of the Union, his first State of the Union, and there was some applause moments in there. They liked hearing it. They liked hearing what Trump said about the lowest unemployment rate in the black community ever. Let's deduce that just a little bit. The racial unemployment gap remains wide. Yes, it may be true that at 6.8% unemployment is the lowest recorded black unemployment rate, and that's a good thing. But it's still much higher than the 3.7% unemployment rate for white people. CNN reported that white unemployment was consistently averaged about half of black unemployment rate, and that gap hasn't changed much over the years. And as you can see here, you see where black unemployment rate is? And yes, it was dropping, right? It's been going down since when? Since around 2008, right? Everyone went up. Everyone went up in 2008 around the recession. And as you can see, everyone's been dropping. We've both been dropping. Both black folks and white folks have been dropping since 2008. Okay? Now, here you'll see this distance between the two is only slightly changed, if at all. Okay? You can see this at its widest during the recession. And it's starting to get a little closer. But that's what I want to point out to people. Okay? Researchers looking at the unemployment gap have pointed out a number of factors driving the numbers, ranging from a lack of access to educational opportunities to a higher rate of incarceration. I'm bringing up these numbers because people are saying, well, Tim, less black folks are unemployed. And I want to push back on that initially and just tell you, first of all, unemployment rates count those people who are no longer reporting or no longer receiving unemployment compensation. All right, so let's make that clear, because for some reason that gets lost in the sauce. Unemployment rate, right, are based on numbers of people who are collecting unemployment. So if you're not collecting unemployment, you're not counted. That's one reason why the numbers look so good. It's not because you're doing better necessarily, right? Not necessarily. It could just be that you stop getting unemployment checks, right? So once your benefits in, you're not counted in the numbers anymore. But back to this picture here. Racial unemployment gap widens. Okay? That's the number we're looking at. Wouldn't we want all Americans to be doing about the same? Right? As far as employment, we're not getting closer. And you can see it, looking at the picture once again, let me go back to it a second. You can see it was wide under Obama. I am not giving the Obama administration a pass on that. But what good is it for me to champion for something with a president who's not even in office anymore? This must be addressed now. There are families suffering now. There are people who need jobs now who happen to be Black Americans who are, as you can see, once again, in the gap. Retirement. White families are far more likely to have money put away in retirement savings accounts. 65% of white households have such accounts, versus only 40% of Black households. Hourly wage. The pay gap between white and Black workers actually widened in 2015, the last year they were measured. That gap reached 26.7, up from 18.1 in 79. We found that the racial wage gaps are growing primarily due to discrimination, along with rising inequality in general, says Rutgers University economist William M. Rogers III, one of the authors of the report. Pay gap. That means people are taking home less money than other people, based on many factors probably, but we're looking at race. Because Trump made it about race. He said the Black unemployment rate at a record low, lowest it's ever been in history. So yeah, some of us, according to Trump, and according to reality is, of the people that are still, receiving pay, because a lot of people are out of the job market, started doing gig jobs or picking up work where they can, but these people are taking home less money than their white counterparts. I'm waiting for a Me Too movement for this. None? Just saying. I mean, we care about Black folks, right? Because we're all Americans. And, when they said USA at the end and they were saying USA, they meant everybody, right? Let's look at student loan debt. Over the last couple of decades, the student debt gap between Black and white college graduates has ballooned. Blacks who graduated with bachelor's degrees owed $52,726 on student loans 4 years later. That's on average, compared with $28,000 among whites. There are a variety of reasons, including additional debt taken on for graduate programs, but the gap is nonetheless more than 13 times the disparity found in similar analysis of 1993 grads. This is a problem. Home ownership. Black Americans are less likely to own their own homes. This is due to an outgrowth of other disadvantages, including lower overall education levels and lower incomes, according to the Trulia chief economist Ralph McLaughlin. But housing is also its own form of privilege that tends to perpetuate itself across generations. Controlling for other factors, those whose parents own their own homes are nearly 3 times more likely to become homeowners themselves. This is according to McLaughlin. Another factor that puts Black would-be homeowners at a disadvantage. I'm not suggesting that this was not a problem under Obama. What I'm telling you, what I'm showing you, is this is a problem now. And this is our time to stand up for it. All of us. Don't tell me you are liberal if you don't care about this. If that number were white folks, you'd be in the streets. And I'm not saying you personally, but white people be in the streets pissed off, and they should be, as should we. One statistic, that being unemployment rate, which can be fudged, does not make the world a different place. Infant mortality rate. While U.S. infant mortality rates have declined across the board, Black infants still have more than twice the mortality rate of white infants, according to the data from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Among the factors singled out, African Americans die of sudden infant death syndrome at twice the rate of whites, and African American mothers are more than twice as likely as whites to not get prenatal care or to begin it in the 3rd trimester of pregnancy. A lot of this are economic factors. Lack of access to resources. When we were in Portland, Lee Camp and I, part of his set is he talked about if you're a Black college graduate and you have a Black-sounding name, you're 50% less likely to be called back first for a job interview. That's what systemic racism is. In fact, every slide I showed you was systemic racism related. Go ahead again and tell me how I should be clapping and jumping up and down because Trump said the unemployment numbers are at historic lows. I didn't jump when Obama said it. I ain't jumping now. A lot of people jumped when Obama said it who knew better. I'm not picking on people who didn't know. This is for the people that do know, who shut up about it, who keep quiet because it's unpopular, or who don't want to know. Because you ain't going to get a lot of subscribers telling the truth about the black situation in the United States. Not under Trump. Because a lot of Trump supporters, not all of them, some of them are good people, like Trump would say. Some are very good people. Others don't want to hear about black problems because they're black problems. They're not USA problems. It's like we're in another world almost. Let me show you something else I found very interesting, guys. Donald Trump has repeatedly assured the American public he's not a racist. But if you look at these immigration proposals, look at the numbers here. Who's getting cut the most from immigration? You don't hear much talk about it, but black folks are. Black folks, well, people from African countries, 63.9%. Who's getting cut the least? White folks, Asians. I don't know. I don't know if that makes them racist, but I just thought it was an interesting statistic. Home ownership, hourly wage, retirement savings, all important stuff. Infant death. So yeah, we can have these conversations and we can have real conversations or we can have made-up conversations perpetuated by Fox News and Breitbart and other websites I don't even know, who basically regurgitate what was said on Fox News and Breitbart. I don't tell you this to make you want to become a Democrat. I tell you this to make you want to become active. I tell you this because the conversation about our issues, black issues, have become muddled in partisan bickering over who got small hands, who said what about football players. This ain't about who's called what players, about standing for the national anthem. This is about real stuff. This ain't about dissing someone on the mic. This is about people's lives, American lives. We should all be concerned. I know a lot of people out there are. Now you have the information. Now you know the data. Now you know why there ain't much to be clapping about if you happen to be black. We got to get something for our votes. And if your candidate is afraid to talk about the issues I just laid out to you, then they ain't worth your vote. They shouldn't have it. They don't deserve it. I'm Tim Black for TBTV. I come to you with the truth. I'm not a Democrat. I'm also not a Republican. I Dem-exited. My gag flex kept engaging when I saw what the Democrats were doing. Empty promises and platitudes aren't going to get it done for us. They never have. We need real policies, people with real backbone, and we need to be real active if we want real change.
Here's what I want you all to do for me.